Got at her bachelorette party, so I vanished quietly before the wedding and what? Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. My got gang beaned at her bachelorette party, so I disappeared quietly before the wedding, and what happened next left everyone speechless. I'm 32, male, and last weekend I was supposed to marry Mai, 29, after being together for 3 years. I truly believed she was the one. We'd been together for 5 years total, mostly living together, and I thought our relationship was rock solid. Went on her bachelorette trip to Miami with 7 friends 2 weekends before our wedding, and honestly, I wasn't worried. We trusted each other completely, and I figured they'd have some drinks, hit up the clubs, maybe even see a male stripper or something typical for a bachelorette party. I even dropped her off at the airport, kissed her goodbye, and told her to have a good time. While she was gone, I hung out with my buddies, finalized some wedding arrangements, and picked up my tux. Everything seemed normal. She kept texting me about how much fun they were having, how she missed me, the usual stuff. She came back Sunday night tired but happy, saying they had a blast and she was just glad to be home. Then on Wednesday night, just 3 days before our wedding, I got a message from an unknown number. You should see what you did at her bachelorette party. She's not who you think she is. There was a video attachment. I almost thought it was spam or some scam and I was about to delete it, but something told me to open it. What I saw completely destroyed me. It was with 2 guys in what looked like a hotel room. They were doing things to her. She wasn't drunk or incoherent. She was fully aware, participating, even encouraging. At one point, she looked at the camera, smiled, and said, "What happens in Miami stays in Miami, right?" Then laughed. I watched the entire thing, 3 minutes and 42 seconds of it. That was the moment my relationship and the future I'd envisioned with her shattered completely. I felt physically ill. I didn't confront her right away. I needed time to think. I spent the night in the spare bedroom claiming I wasn't feeling well. The next morning, while she was at her final dress fitting, I called my best man, Tony, and showed him the video. He was just as shocked as I was. I needed someone else's perspective to confirm what I was seeing. "So, what are you going to do?" he asked. "I'm not getting married," I told him. That day I spent packing what essentials I could while was out with her mom. I left her a note that simply said, "I know what happened in Miami. The wedding is off." I placed her engagement ring and my key on top of the note. Then I moved into Tony's place temporarily and turned off my phone. I couldn't handle the storm that was coming. When I turned it back on Saturday morning, which would have been our wedding day, I saw I had 47 missed calls and over 60 text messages from her family and some mutual friends. Her messages ranged from confused, like "Where are you?" to panicked, "Please call me, I need to explain," to furious accusations, "You're just mad I made a mistake," to begging, "I'll do anything to fix this." Her parents called too, furious that I had abandoned their daughter, and then confused when they found out why. Apparently had finally told them what I had seen when they couldn't reach me. I sent a mass message to our guests saying, "Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding has been canceled. I apologize for any inconvenience." Then I sent a separate message to, "There's nothing left to say, it's over. It's been a week now. I've gotten an apartment and started the process of separating our lives." I blocked on everything, social media, email, her number, but she still finds ways to contact me. She claims it was just a stupid, drunken mistake and that it didn't mean anything. She was caught up in the moment and peer pressure from her friends. But I saw that video and she wasn't that drunk. She knew exactly what she was doing. Her cousin, who wasn't at the bachelorette party, reached out yesterday. She said is a wreck, barely eating and crying constantly. She begged me to at least talk to her. I told her, no. Maybe I should have confronted her directly instead of leaving, but I just couldn't face her knowing what she did. The thought of standing at the altar and reciting vows on trust and fidelity felt impossible when I already knew she'd broken those vows in the worst way. Some folks think I was harsh for just leaving like that, but how could I ever trust her again? The woman I loved betrayed me so thoroughly just before our wedding. The pain and humiliation are overwhelming. I don't know what comes next, I'm just taking it day by day. There's no going back. Thanks for all the support and advice on my last post, it really helped. A lot has happened since then. First, I found out who sent me the video. Turns out it was the girlfriend of one of the guys slept with. He'd been bragging about it and she found the video on his phone. She was grieving and furious. I managed to find out's identity through some social media digging and sent me the video anonymously. Honestly, that ungrateful move of hers only made me more convinced I did the right thing. Is still trying to reach me. She showed up at my new apartment crying and begging for a chance to explain. I let her in just because I was tired of her causing scenes in the hallway. Her explanation was exactly what I expected. I was drunk. It was just physical. It didn't mean anything. I love you. It was a mistake. Same old excuses that cheaters always use. What was more revealing was hearing what actually happened. According to, they'd all been out at a club, and her friends were encouraging her to have one last fling. She admitted the guys weren't strangers. They'd met the night before and kept hanging out with her all weekend. She swore it was just that one time, then broke down, saying she made out with one of them the previous night, not just at the bachelorette party. The more she talked, the clearer it became. This wasn't a spontaneous, drunken mistake. It was flirting, planning, and deliberate choices. Over several days, the worst part, some of her bridesmaids not only encouraged it but also filmed it, women who were supposed to stand beside us on our wedding day. When I called her out on that, she got defensive and said, "It's normal to have a last fling before marriage. Lots of people do it." That was the final straw. I told her, normal. Betraying the one you claim to love isn't normal. Participating in a threesome a week before our wedding on camera, that's not normal. She started crying harder, saying I was being cruel and unforgiving. That if I really loved her, I'd understand and try to work it out. I just laughed. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have fed two guys at your bachelorette party. She left after that, but not before dropping one last chilling comment. You'll regret throwing everything away over one mistake. It didn't sound like remorse, it sounded like a threat. Sure enough, now she's telling people I was controlling and emotionally abusive, which is totally false. She's playing the victim, saying I abandoned her without giving her a chance to explain, and now I'm punishing her for one mistake. Some mutual friends have even taken her side. On the financial side, it's a mess. We're arguing over who pays what for the wedding costs. Her parents paid most of the deposits, but many final bills were due just before the wedding from our joint account. She demands I pay her back my half since I canceled the wedding, but I refuse. I'm not paying for a wedding that didn't happen because she cheated. I've talked to a lawyer about the house we were buying. Thankfully, we hadn't closed yet. We'd planned to sign documents after the honeymoon, but since we're splitting up, it's complicated. The lawyer says I'm in the clear since we weren't technically married yet, but it's still a headache. One bright spot, I've realized who my real friends are. Tony and a handful of others have supported me 100%, but some friends still believe Julia's version or tell me I should forgive her. I refuse. The emotional has been brutal. One minute I'm angry, the next devastated. I can't sleep well, can't focus on work. I've started therapy, which helps a little. Sometimes I see the images from that video flash in my mind, and I feel sick all over again. I will never share that video, not to prove my point, not to retaliate. I never want to see it again. For now, I'm just focusing on myself, working out, reconnecting with supportive friends, and trying to heal. I've blocked Julia on everything again and made it clear I don't want updates about her life. I don't know if this pain will ever fully go away, but I'm grateful I found out who she really was before we got married. Just small blessings, I guess. 2 weeks later, things escalated in ways I never expected. Apparently had a complete breakdown and was briefly hospitalized for severe depression and anxiety, according to her sister. Her family blames me, says I pushed her to this because I refused to even discuss reconciliation. They've been harassing me with calls and messages, calling me heartless and cruel. I feel bad she's suffering, but I didn't do this, she did. I'm not responsible for the consequences of her actions. The wild part, Those two guys from Miami, turns out one of them is married. His wife found out, probably from the video or other sources, and is now divorcing him. In her anger, she tracked me down and called me. We ended up talking for nearly 2 hours, both processing our own betrayals. It's strange how sharing that same pain with someone else can create a bond. We're meeting for coffee next week, just to talk, not a date. Just two people helping each other through this mess. On the financial front, things have finally settled. We reached an agreement where neither of us got everything we wanted, but it's done. I had to pay more than I'd hoped for some wedding expenses, but less than Julia demanded. The house deal fell through, probably for the best. I moved into a better apartment than what we'd planned. The social fallout continues. Her bridesmaids are still pushing their twisted version of events, but fewer people believe it. The truth is leaking out. Some friends who initially sided with Julia have reached out to apologize after hearing the full story from others who attended her bachelorette party. One of the bridesmaids even called me to admit she filmed the video and regrets egging Julia on. She said there was a lot of cocaine involved that weekend, something Julia never mentioned, and that things got totally out of hand. While that still doesn't excuse her actions, it adds a new layer to the story. Also confirmed my suspicion. This was Julia's first fight with cheating. Apparently, about 2 years ago, she had an incident with and her friends helped cover it up. Finding out this pattern was devastating but also clarifying. It made me realize I made the right call ending things so definitively. It wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a pattern of deception and betrayal that I couldn't overlook. The repeated lies, especially right before our wedding, completely shattered any trust we had. I now believe it's impossible to reconcile. Julia admitted she contacted both of the Miami guys when she found out she was pregnant. One ghosted her immediately. The other, who's married and going through a divorce, wants nothing to do with the baby. His wife filled me in on their drama. The married guy claims the encounter was consensual but that he was too drunk and didn't intend to get her pregnant. Nobody's buying that. Julia now faces single motherhood with two potential fathers who want zero involvement. Her family, who were so quick to condemn me, are suddenly trying to support her through this crisis. Her father, who once stormed into my office demanding I take responsibility, now looks away when we cross paths. The social consequences for Julia have been harsh. Friends have distanced themselves, and her career is suffering. She's taken extended leave and missed a promotion. Some say I should feel vindicated, but honestly I feel only sadness. Sad for the years I invested in someone who could betray me so easily. Sad for the future we'd planned that will never happen, and for the child being born into this mess. But mostly, I feel relief that I discovered her true character before tying myself to her through marriage or a child. As for me, I'm doing all right. The new apartment finally feels like home. I got promoted last month. The extra money helps. I've reconnected with old friends, made some new ones. I even started dating casually, nothing serious yet. It's too soon. The biggest challenge now is the pregnancy. If the baby is mine, my life is about to change drastically. If it isn't, I'll feel relief, but also guilt for the kid who will grow up in this chaos. For now, I'm preparing for the paternity test and focusing on healing. I'll update when I know more. And finally, 4 to 6 months later, the results are in. The baby isn't mine. I can't say I'm surprised. Relief mostly, with a strange sense of loss for a future I'd mentally prepared for. Part of me was already imagining fatherhood, even with all the doubts. Reaction was heartbreaking. She broke down crying when she heard. She confessed she'd been hoping the baby was mine because she thought it might bring us back together. She also admitted she suspected it might be one of the Miami guys, but convinced herself it was mine because facing the alternative was too painful. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, almost. Then I remembered months of lies, manipulation, and harassment from her and her family, who tried to guilt-trip me into taking responsibility for a child that wasn't mine. They called me a deadbeat, a coward. When I confronted her about the other cheat from 2 years ago that she initially but then broke down and admitted, I realized the woman I thought I loved had cheated on me at least 3 times. Who knows how many more? Maybe even her friends don't know everything. The irony is, if she'd been honest about those earlier incidents, maybe we could work through it. But the pattern of deception, especially right before the wedding, made reconciliation impossible. All trust was gone. Julia told me she reached out to both Miami guys as soon as she found out she was pregnant. One blocked her immediately. The married one, who's in the middle of divorce, wants nothing to do with the child. His wife told me he claims the encounter was consensual but that he was too drunk and didn't intend to get her pregnant. Complete BS. Now Julia faces single motherhood, with both potential fathers refusing involvement. Her family, who once condemned me, are scrambling to support her. Her father once caused a scene at my office demanding I take responsibility. Now he avoids eye contact when we meet. Her social standing is crumbling. Friends fleeing, career stalled. Some say I should feel victorious, but honestly, I just feel exhausted. Exhausted from investing years in someone who betrayed me. Exhausted hearing that the child might not even be mine, yet feeling tied to the story because of other lies. In the end, I've moved on. I've built a new life that I'm proud of. The house deal fell through, which was probably for the best, and I found an apartment I love. I've worked out, reconnected with old friends, and started seeing someone new, someone who knows all about my past but isn't defined by it. There's no rush. I've got therapy, and it's helping me rebuild my trust in myself. The financial mess is finally resolved. Legal bills were steep, but relief was worth it. Last week, Julia finally collected her last things from storage, so there's no lingering connection. Melissa and I still see each other casually. We've even joked about how we should thank her for bringing us together in the worst way. I think this is the last update I'll give. The story, over, Julia made her choices, and now she's facing the consequences. I've made peace with everything that happened. I'm focused on moving forward. In a strange way, I'm grateful, not because Julia struggles or because she deserved it, but because that nightmare forced me to find true happiness. In trying to ruin me, she set me free. So that's the final chapter of a story I never expected to live. Thanks to everyone who supported me along the way. If you're going through your own heartbreak, just remember, it gets better. The pain never fully disappears, but it fades. Life does go on, and sometimes, the worst betrayals open doors you never knew existed. Thanks for hearing me out.